G'day, welcome back to my string challenge videos for Corp. So today we're going to start off by just adding, I think, a few small countries into the mix. Do we want to jump into them straight away, or should we just spend money? Just spend a little money. We've got enough, so we may as well just get it going. So we've upgraded him. We'll work. Oh, he's already updated. Let's just work our way through Peru and Brazil. We have a fair bit of money now, so hopefully we can upgrade a fair bit. And we might be able to have a look to see where we are at in terms of making this sustainable. Let's try and move through this nice and quick. See how fast this burns through money too. Every single thing we click on is $1,600. Whoop. Let's try that again. Oh, we've got an announcement coming. Oh, someone's just spent a lot of money on a route. Now, I don't know if that means I missed the thing. No, I got that. Cool. You can see that money is at least continuing to spin up at a good pace. I imagine I definitely will catch it at some point. At least there's a little bit of chase going on here. Basically what we hope to see is that in South America there's no red at all. I assume that we'll still see red in other parts of the country because of the size of their airports, or other parts of the world. What we really want to see is that South America is okay with the 3,000 population airports that it has. And at least if it isn't, we can go, okay, well, we probably need to upgrade more planes on certain routes. That's the case. Beautiful. Look at that. There are a few red planes around, but no red airports. And that's exactly what we want to see. We want to see, say, that those bubbles that we talk about of passengers moving is now represented by a red plane. It's not represented by a red airport. So those bubbles do still exist, but you can clearly see that the second route, so this guy even doing his long route and coming back, he's barely even tinging green, which suggests that those red balls are now just red balls of a plane moving, not a breakdown of the entire system. So that's what we're going to be excited for. Now, obviously, that is causing chaos for these first places outside of South America where they haven't gotten those full upgrades. But we are getting there. We would just like to see this guy all the way upgraded first. Now, we have had a few more cities come in, so while we let our money just build up, let's see if we can find these cities. It doesn't look like Brazil's giving us anything, nor is Peru and Ecuador, so I would say we've now just opened up back to a point where the existing countries are now letting their even smaller cities come through. So we've got Monroe. How are we going to fit you in? 322 versus 333, so we'll go into Houston. We'll connect that, and we'll... This looks like when I add a new route, you can see the whole thing now lags. I guess it must be an indication of how many cities we've got in here. That sort of point of saving just really taxes it. It is fun. It is. I'm really glad to see that we do this where we go after one airport change, one addition, and we sort of do all the upgrades around it, and you can see we're still just accruing money nicely. Okay. How are we going to sneak you in? I would say we probably get rid of that one. Let's go this way. Yeah, you can see that's really freaking out with each of those changes. So back in the day, in earlier versions of the game used to save every single time you made a city. Sorry, a flight made an arrival. So every single time any plane made it to its destination, I believe, it would save. Now you can see what's happening when it saves when I build a new route now. You can imagine what would have been happening when that's what happened every single time a plane arrived. And so the game was just absolutely unplayable. But now all it is basically just as I build those routes, it freaks out. And then it sort of will come good. Hopefully it doesn't do it when I upgrade things, because otherwise this would be torture. I mean, I would gladly have it that it saves basically every time you open a new country. Now, that's not very often for me here. But that's fine. I can take care of saving myself. That's also encouraged me to try and build all my new routes nice and quick, so that we just get through that period of awkward adjustment. Hate doing that. Okay, where are we going to connect to you? So what we do is go that way. And then we go, and it is a shame to have to change so many routes with it cracking it. And the thing is that that's how much of the world we currently have. It's just that's how many cities we have that's causing that. So what's this going to look like when we get to China? Or India. Alright. So I've built this, now I've got to remember what my plan was. So I think I'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. And we get rid of that. And we get rid of that. A whole lot of little planes over there too that we've got to sort out. There's certainly a sign that I should be increasing the amount of countries I'm holding on to. If I'm just still getting more, if I'm starting to get American cities, because it means that sort of the new countries that I've built have hit their caps. Just work on it. Any city I click on that, if it's not up to 1600, will make it 1600 now. Alright. Where are we going to put you in? I guess we'll just go like that for now. And we will do that. At least we know what's causing the lag, and at least we know that every time we've sort of done with that that upgrade, that we're not going to see it again until we add another one. I mean, like I said, we have a lot of flights to still build here. Before I become too trigger happy. Okay. Alright, let's connect you in here. Alright, let's open up another country somewhere so we stop having these having to make all these little tinkering adjustments. Let's go Uruguay. And let's get rid of that one. Those ones I don't need to worry about upgrading yet. And what was that? Mexico. Yeah, there's no need for this game to really need to autosave at all. Like, I've never had the game crash, and it would only really be if crashing was a problem. But I would say just make it... Is that Billings? There we go. Out in the middle of nowhere. Yakima. I feel like I've been to Yakima. What's in Yakima? Let's hold there for a second. Let me just quickly look while we accrue some money. Did I ever go to Yakima? If yes, why did I go to Yakima? What state are we saying that's in? That would... Oh, it could be on the border. It could be either side of the thing. We find out where it is geographically, and that might give me a... It's in Washington. Does definitely track for somewhere like right in the middle of where I would have gone. Jury is out. Whenever I've been there, I feel like I've at least driven through Yakima. Name does seem very familiar there. I've got a few more Californian cities. Assume Redding's in California. Could be wrong. Guess it connects through here. Alright, how are we looking in Uruguay? It's a 2. I mean, I could open Argentina to allow that to have the explosion of more cities. Genuinely, I want to get rid of this. I want to see if I can get... Well, I want to see if I can get rid of that. And I'm so close to getting to the end of this line here. So that's just putting a hole right in the middle of our line. But I do think it's giving us cities slower than we're making money at this stage. So we'll just let that make some money. I'm trying to think of what we did. So for anyone that knows the area around Washington State and Oregon, so we went from, I don't remember this off the top of my head, we went from Portland along the river to Multnomah Falls. Then we continued along until we hit, it's called Rowena Crest, maybe that was its name. Had a look at that overlook, and then went down, and there's like on the Washington side of the river, there's a World War I monument that's a recreation of what Stonehenge would have originally looked like. I don't quite know what the connection between Stonehenge and World War I would be, but I assume possibly someone just wanted to make a Stonehenge recreation, and then they could get funding for it by making it a war memorial. But from there we went north and went to where what's the name of the show? Because I've never watched it. Northern Exposure, where the exterior for the town of from Northern Exposure, and then we went further along to go to the exterior of the Twin Peaks Hotel before we then went on to Seattle. I don't think either of those two things exist in Yakima. I think that's too big. We must have just driven through it. Neither of these two guys are proper jets. Only the finest for the people of Yakima. Alright, let's find this new city. Oh, there we go, right in the... Couldn't tell you which side of the border that's on. It looks like it's on the Brazilian side, but it's quite possible that that jumps up there. Okay, let's keep upgrading. It does give me a lot of hope when I see how green South America is. The other thing as well is once these are upgraded beyond the amount of the capacity of the planes, it means that that shift of passengers isn't going to be as sort of constantly detrimental. Like every arrival of a group of passengers isn't going to absolutely wreck shop like it currently does. So that's definitely an exciting prospect. And that is in part because of the size of the airports and what I've made them. But I think that in terms of making money sooner, I needed to just sort of get those airports open. At least now I know that all I'm looking for is waiting for that number there to be 1600 and then stop. And that doesn't matter for if it's a plane or an airport. 1600, then stop. Alright. Presidente Prudent? Assume that would mean that this was a president of Brazil that's had a town named after him. Even with Colombia blocked off, that's not causing the upgraded parts of South America to panic at all. It's lovely to see. Yeah, this guy's yellow, but I assume that's just because he must have been one of the passenger balls rolling along, and that's where it's got stopped while everything can't progress. And now with that open again, we'll be able to see a whole bunch of red planes flying around. Fixing this. Alright, see if we can locate any of these new cities that have come in. There's one. Sioux Falls and Sioux City. Alright, so let's go the best route here, actually. Because, I mean, we could connect Cedar Rapids to this section here. Rochester's just a little bit out in no man's land. Or arguably Fargo is. Let's just go the easiest solution for now. Might not be the best one, but... Another one. Wichita Falls. Another one, cool. Well, this one at least makes this long trip a little bit shorter. Another new one, State College. Interesting name. Down. It's closer going this way. Got Greenville down here. Let's get rid of that connection. This one. A little bit more Brazil. All right, where's that new city? I really should stop competing in best airline competitions. Definitely not, not what we would consider our strong suit. Alright, with this inclusion of this guy here, let's think about what we can fix up here. I think that possibly what we want to do is get rid of that and that. And we'll go straight back up from here. And then we can go from Austin, San Angelo to Odessa. I don't know how you'd pronounce that. There's definitely a different way of pronouncing things I find in sort of Texas as opposed to the way that I would expect to. It's a combination of either just the way that Americans do sometimes pronounce things. This is what I would, as a sort of like, I guess, the origins of the Australian English being from England, and as well as there being American Indian sort of names in amongst this as well as Spanish. So I mean the combination of different languages that could be the reason that vowels are pronounced other various ways does make it a really tricky sort of little melting pot of a place. Things like, I remember when I've gone to America and said aluminium. Aluminium, I once said to a group of friends, and they stared at me absolutely blankly, and I thought, I don't know what I've done wrong, until they finally, one of them cracked that I was saying aluminum. There's another one as well. It's just that we call different things stuff as well. Like, I mean, I think lift and elevator is probably one of the big ones. I remember calling what would be an Americans would call a drinking fountain. I called it a bubbler. It'd surely be a dumb Australian term. It is funny when you have terms like that and you realize that drinking fountain is a way more... I don't know why I gave those guys this. I guess they can start to enjoy the luxury of the upgrades. But there are phrases like drinking fountain is probably a way better name than bubbler. And saying bubbler out loud to another grown adult and them thinking it sounds dumb, you suddenly realize how dumb it actually does sound. So there are certain words that I remember the first time I went to order eggs sunny side up in America, I suddenly thought, that sounds really dumb. I hope that's what they call it here too, because otherwise it's a really silly term. Say what you will, but I'm getting pretty efficient at upgrading now. Really roll through these. I wonder if the first time I make a new line after I've done a long series of updates like that, it actually even lags worse because there's so many different things that it needs to update, or if it's just bad every time. I wonder if U3 cities here, what's the distance there? So it's about 500, there's 600. We got something in here that would allow us to bounce this that way. Sorry, that way. So these three come under the Brazilian flights, not the Venezuelan flights, and we just let that connect. Let's bring Switzerland into it as well. And we will give Switzerland full upgrade benefits. Just because in case anyone does want to fly there now as a new location, it will move quite well. Now, why are you... This is where it's quite neat, and what we can see is you can see that that airport right there is now struggling with capacity because of everyone from this side is bringing things up, and that must be the first long path inside of like internally. So he's currently winning the battle though. Every time a plane arrives, and these planes are all going to be moving things a lot quicker than he can get rid of them. But then you ask, well, where does it then stop? If I upgrade to him to 2 planes, assumably this guy's then going to need 2 planes. Now this guy here is moving stuff at a rapid pace. He's got 2 planes already because we've got he's got the super jet on there. Let's get rid of that guy just to try and limit this guy's efficiency. But what we'll do is, just while we're watching this, we'll just use this as a... Wait, we'll try and catch this guy being at the opposite end of the other guy. Wait for him to shoot out. There we go. But assumably what we're going to now see is that this stack of people is going to just shift to being at this airport as opposed to at the airport above it. Like that this will clean up that mess, but then the mess will just be moved. Now the question will then be whether this guy can shift it fast enough out of there that then, because this then hits a whole series of little airports, that we can then have that mess divided amongst all the different airports. Or can it even just manage if we've got these two guys shifting this and this is short enough that that's okay? Because I mean, at the moment you can see that there's certainly this guy's operating red. He's every second one. Obviously, this guy is doing green because he's traveling faster and making his connection much faster than this guy is. So that he's kind of dividing it out pretty well. That you're not seeing that sort of significant mess move much more beyond it, except for obviously the red planes, but the cities aren't struggling with it. I do think we've got to try giving this guy a second plane too. Problem is when I try and sit on the plane to upgrade them, I just can't see where they are. Okay, so let's slow it down. We'll wait for them to sort of meet at each opposite end. We'll see if we can have the problem shifted to this guy and he can sort it out, or if he makes this airport be the one that's overflowing. Okay, so let's get this guy in here. Uruguay didn't have too much in the way of cities it wanted to offer. Because as far as I'm aware in this game, I wasn't sure there was a continue button. I mean, I guess there must be, but for me, generally, I'm just loading my save. All right, let's continue to upgrade. Hopefully, once this gets all the way down to the bottom, it'll mean that all the passengers that are traveling internally to Brazil and the rest of South America will actually arrive at their destinations. Like, they won't be lost if they get to an overflowing airport. And I think that even before we upgrade and open up any more cities, if we can just have the amount of passengers we currently have not disappearing because they're reaching full airports, I think we could see our money start to shoot up. Not to mention if we stop having our 30% negative against us. You're getting so close to the end of the line here. Those are the ones I already upgraded. And the good thing is that once I've got this upgraded all the way, it does mean that I can spend a little bit more when I do bring in a new country, which is exciting. I mean, obviously I'll probably allow, I won't upgrade the planes necessarily as quickly, but I certainly will upgrade the airports a bit more. Oh, missed that last one. Now I think the 3,000 spend on, sorry, the 3,000 population that these can have for now is actually probably a good layout, so that it'll allow me to see those red cities, that I can see places like, okay, now Port of Spain is struggling, that these guys are doing a good job of moving those passengers to here, but now this is where our struggle points are. So, let's get another guy on this one. Let's keep an eye on him. Slowly wait for them to be at opposite ends. And there they go. And we'll do the same with this guy. So hopefully this guy can handle that on his own, because he's going to have, there's now 4 planes operating between his one route, but I think that he still sort of makes the journey almost twice as, well, more than twice as fast as they do. So he'll still shift people correctly before the next plane arrives. It's good to see that we are pretty close to happy in South America. All right, where are we? So close to the end here. So once we've finished this, what I might do is then I'll work from the bottom of Central America and work up, I think, rather than starting over in France. It looks like I've finally gotten... No! It's still only giving me New Orleans. Gulfport instead. Does really say that I should... does really say I should be bringing in something else. Stop getting more and more American cities and Mexican ones and Canadian. Was it Canadian? It sounds Canadian. Now we've got a few more cities to add. We've got a French one down here to add as well. But what we might do is we'll call it there. I would say my goal for the next one after this will be that I might not... I definitely want to bring in some country. Even if it's just the Netherlands or someone. So we expand a little bit. But I think the main goal will be, can we have... Probably we can't afford to have a fully efficient running system because we've got too many red sort of cities operating through here because they're not big enough. But can we get closer? And hopefully we will. What do we bring in? Uruguay. But until next time, I will catch you later. See ya.